It was on the day of October 26, 1965, when the police discovered the body of a female in the house of 3850 East New York Street. The name of the girl was Sylvia Marie Likens. An adolescent from a public telephone booth had phoned the police, informing about the dead body. When the police reached the dingy house, they discovered the emaciated dead body of a 16-year-old girl. Cuts and flesh torn in places, and wounds covered the body. Match and cigarette burns over the skin amounted to over 100. It had the letter 3 branded on the chest. But what grasped the attention of the police were the words, "I am a prostitute and proud of it," carved out directly on the stomach. A group of teenagers had carried out the crime under the leadership of a woman named Gertrude Baniszewski. Gertrude Baniszewski's life had been a difficult one. She was born into the Fossen family in 1929 and named Gertrude Van Fossen. She was the third child of a family of 6 children. Being attached to her father more, she suffered a trauma when he died of a heart attack. She was just 7 years old. Occasionally, she would get into quarrels with her mother and soon dropped out of school. At 16, she married John Baniszewski. Throughout their married life, Gertrude seemed to remain pregnant all the time. John was a police officer, but he had the mentality of a convict. He frequently assaulted his wife when she got on his nerves, and sometimes their disagreements got settled by him beating up Gertrude. It was not long before the couple split up and relieved each other. After her divorce, Gertrude met and married Edward Guthrie. It lasted only 3 months, as Edward wanted to take no responsibility of the children from her previous marriage. She had 4 kids then. Things were then called off. Gertrude and John remarried each other and then divorced after 7 years in 1963. By that time, she already had 6 kids. At 37, Gertrude met the love of her life, Dennis Lee. He was younger than her, just 23 years old. Their love blossomed, and the two started living together. However, Dennis abused Gertrude and impregnated her twice. Shortly after, she gave birth to another kid. Dennis absconded. Gertrude was underweight and looked young-old when she met the Likens. She had been pregnant 13 times, out of which she had suffered 6 miscarriages, giving birth to just 7 kids. To maintain her family, she relied on child support payments and the occasional dollars earned from ironing and babysitting. She was also a heavy smoker and suffered from asthma, bronchitis, and nervous tension. Sylvia and Jenny moved into one of the more run-down houses in the neighborhood with their mother, Betty Likens. Betty and Lester, Sylvia's father, had recently separated. Sylvia and Jenny were walking along the sidewalks when they met Paula Baniszewski, a 17-year-old teenager. She was already pregnant by then because of a fling with an adult married man. Sylvia and Jenny went to the Baniszewski's house, shared drinks, and spent the night there. They did not bother to ask their mother for permission, as she was in jail at the time. The next day, Lester Likens, being informed of his wife's arrest, went to get his daughters. Not finding them in the house, he came to the Baniszewski house looking for them. He chatted with Gertrude heartily and told her about his plans to go traveling with his reconciled wife, Betty. The next day, Gertrude offered, or Lester asked, to board the teenagers. The accounts of this are unclear, but they decided that Sylvia and Jenny would stay with the Baniszewskis for a while, and Gertrude would receive $20 a week as a fee. It did not occur to Lester Likens even for a moment to look around the place he was sending his daughters to live. If he did, he would have discovered that the house had no stove, just a hot plate. There were fewer beds for the residents, let alone for guests. The kitchen drawers only comprised of 3 spoons, which would reduce to only 1 during Sylvia's stay there. Before he left his daughters in that unknown place, he told the caretaker something he would regret for the rest of his life. "You'll have to take care of these girls with a firm hand because their mother has let them do as they please." Sylvia was a pretty, freckled teenager with wavy dark hair. She loved going to the church and brought average grades in school. Her favorite sport was roller skating and dancing. She had a good sense of humor and was the odd one out of the family. Her family comprised of 2 sets of fraternal twins, Danny and Diana, 2 years older than her, and Jenny and Benny, a year younger than her. She was born between these sets of twins. In her 16 years of life, she had known over 14 addresses because of the frequent moves of her family. She made petty cash through odd jobs like most teenagers and was attached to her disabled sister, Jenny. The first week the Likens sisters moved in with the Baniszewskis went without incident. The kids got to know each other and started a new school. But a little into the second week, their miseries began. It was when Likens' parents' payment arrived late. Gertrude made the 2 girls lie across a bed, exposed their backs, and spanked them the day before. Gradually, Gertrude turned hostile towards Sylvia. She believed Sylvia was leading her kid to steal out of stores. She was dishonest, unclean, and craved sex. The money Sylvia gained from turning in empty soda pop bottles for refunds were accused of being stolen. Sylvia attended church with the Baniszewskis every Sunday. One day, Paula gossiped to her mother that Sylvia had stolen a portion of the church supper. So, Gertrude and the other children punished her by passing around her frankfurter around the table, loading it up with condiments. Sylvia was later ordered to eat this concoction. Even when Lester Likens came by for a visit, neither of the girls complained about the way they were being treated. Later, in August 1965, Phyllis and Raymond Vermillion moved in next door to the Baniszewskis. Phyllis worked the night shift at an RCA plant and needed a babysitter for her children. She visited Gertrude Baniszewski, thinking she, the mother of 7 children with 2 boarders, was the perfect person for the job. However, she decided against it when she saw Sylvia with a black eye administered by Paula, who later filled a glass of hot water and hurled it at her. That display of emotion made Phyllis look elsewhere for a babysitter. But it never occurred to her to report what she had seen to the police. Sylvia never thought of running away because it never occurred to her. To her, all the tortures made out to her made it seem like she deserved it. They were being delivered in the pretext of punishment. She never complained about her ill treatment either, because to her, it would seem like admitting to others that people disliked her. But as the mistreatment continued, she was ashamed to tell people what had been done to her. Another reason for her silence was her protectiveness toward her younger sister, Jenny. If she were to tell, Gertrude would take revenge on her. Slowly, the punishments turned from being picked on to finally escalating to physical torture. During the first few weeks of her stay with the family, Sylvia ate, slept, watched TV, and went to school with the Baniszewskis. But meals there were not an enjoyable experience. 10 people ate without a stove. They had crackers and sandwiches. Soup was a regular part of their diet, as they could heat it on a hot plate. But they had to take turns to eat it. There were only 3 spoons in the house. Sometime later in August, Sylvia once let loose that she had let a boyfriend get under the covers with her. Gertrude kicked her hard in the crotch. Her made-up pregnancy infuriated the genuinely pregnant Paula, who knocked Sylvia off the chair, as she wasn't fit to sit on it. To get revenge on Paula, Sylvia told some students that the eldest 2 Baniszewskis, Stephanie and Paula, were prostitutes. This threw Coy Hubbard, Stephanie's boyfriend, into a fit of rage. He flipped Sylvia against the walls and the floor with his judo techniques. Gertrude gave Sylvia another shower of kicks. She encouraged neighborhood children to pick on Sylvia. A heavyset 13-year-old, Anna Cisco, viciously attacked Sylvia as it was rumored that Sylvia had called her mother a hooker. And so, Paula made it a habit to hit Sylvia with anything within her reach, be it a bottle, a dish, or a can. Often, when groups tortured Sylvia, Jenny was ordered to hit her. She would weakly refuse, but Gertrude would slap her in the face, and she would comply. She hit Sylvia with her left hand so that she would not get hurt. Thus, continued the torture of Sylvia Likens. Thanks for watching. If you want us to keep making these videos, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Stay tuned for more exciting videos.